Blake Middleton, you are correct. You and Julia picked Spain. We'll be talking a fair bit about that today. Welcome, everybody, as we're about to get this one across the starting line. Our show number 724. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show number 724 for Tuesday, the 16th of July. We're in the middle of July already. We've got the Olympics coming up in 10 days. We've got Gov Cup coming up next week. We've got the America's Cup coming up in a couple months. And we finally have gotten through the Sail GP season. That ended this past weekend. It ended the day before yesterday here in San Francisco. Yes, Julia and I were over at the St. Francis Yacht Club. And she's intent on getting her comments up there on her computer screen.
I now have.
You got them?
Yeah.
This is the Julia Show. I am along for the ride as well. We're live again from the Beach Street Yacht Club here, Studio B, our regular studio. And we'll have one more show here before I head down to Newport Beach on Sunday for the Gov Cup. 10 shows in 6 days, our usual bunch of live shows down there. It's great fun, a fantastic club, looking very much forward to it. And we appreciate you joining us today. Julia, any hot tips before we move forward?
Yes, I'd love to be in Garda.
Well, that is where John Emmett is.
I know.
And we'll see his report in a moment. And he's got a great report. We want to say hi to everybody. It's Blake Middleton checking in from Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes up there at Wayzata. Joe Holtzman in Estes Park. Sunny, I guess Wendy means windy, Colorado. And Graham Sweeney, good evening from Yell, Shetland, Scotland. Jay Hanfield checking in from Newport, Rhode Island, where the New York Yacht Club's race week is on and the TP50 Worlds have started today. Glorious day, he says it is, in my favorite city, yacht racing town, Newport, Rhode Island. Rhode Island. Peter Taylor, greetings from sultry New York City. Pricey checking in from Sydney. Hello, David. We had a nice feature on your daughter and our Fozy, Olivia Price, who is at the Olympics getting ready to win, I hope. We all hope, the 49er women, the skiff women. Emmett's checking in from beautiful Lake Garda. John, you needed to bring Julia along with you. She wanted to be with you.
Yes, yes.
And he co-hosted the opening ceremony.
Did he?
He did. And I've been watching his commentary that he and Lily have been doing this morning live.
Yes.
Their afternoon. He's doing the commentary live every day at the Youth Worlds at Lake Garda.
And how did I miss that?
Well, I don't know, but you've got to have your YouTube channels all set up. You can watch it in the ensuing days.
I'd love to see it.
Bannerow. Hello, Rick. Oof. HHH. Real feel over 100 degrees. Must be hot and humid. At Larchmont Junior Race Week at the esteemed Larchmont Yacht Club, Larchmont, New York. Just kind of north and east of New York City. Just before you get into Connecticut, the Nutmeg State. Gordon Smith checking in from Denmark, where he's up on the north coast, overlooking the coast of Sweden. It's a soggy visit to their family cabin. I think it's their family cabin. John J. Hanfield III loves your scarf.
Well, thank you. It's a nice.
Where'd you get that?
I think it's a Hamburg Süd scarf of all the nations that it serves.
That Hamburg Süd, the shipping company
Yeah.
that your late great husband Conrad was a
Right.
esteemed captain, for which he was an esteemed
For- yeah,
captain.
for
See how I
which.
didn't end that with a preposition. John Lammerts Van Buren in Holland. Hi, John. A couple of nice comments from him since the show on Friday. Greg Phillips sent me some clever jokes that we're going to use in due course. A couple of them I couldn't use, Julia.
Uh-oh.
Greg Phillips is right up there with, I think, Ted Ryman in terms of the sauciness of some of his cartoons. There's James Appel. Oh, James, long time. He's in Buzzards Bay. Great sailor, great guy, longtime friend. And Emmett said the Spanish have got the hat trick with SailGP Wimbledon and the football. More than that, they also won the Live Golf.
Yeah.
In where was that? Was that in Saudi Arabia? Someplace in the Middle East. So they got a hat trick, and of course, we're going to talk a little bit about that in today's show. I want to start by thanking my beloved father, Tom Eamon Sr., who gave us that interview. We taped it earlier last week. I ran it on Friday's show. If you haven't seen it, a lot of people who know, especially those who know my dad, said that he seemed to be more bright-eyed, more bushy-tailed, more enthused about any topic than in memory. And of course, you know, the guy's 91. He works all day, every day. But he loves yacht racing. He loves this sport of ours. And he is an innovator and has been since, 60 years,
Yeah.
including the invention of the 1080 rule, which became the 720 rule, as we featured on the show with his interview on Friday. Speaking of the Spanish, we talked on Friday about how it was going to be a final between this gentleman and by Carlos Alcaraz. Alcatraz. I called him that on Friday. Alcaraz and Djokovic. We had seen the semifinal matches that morning before our Friday show, and indeed they went in. And even though Alcaraz won in 3 straight sets on Sunday morning, it was a fabulous match, and it looked for a while like Djokovic might come back. He was down 2 sets to 0. And they were 2-2 or 3-3, I can't remember, in the middle of the 3rd set. And then Carlos found his joie de vivre, to use a French word, mixed metaphors here, and pull ahead for the win in a tiebreak. But nonetheless, in 3 straight sets, which was better than he did last year, having won it. It took him 5 sets last year to win it over Djokovic again. So the kid, it looks like the torch has been passed in tennis to the younger generation. It looks maybe like it's being passed in SailGP as well, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. And as John Emmett said, bravo Zulu to España, to Spain. Whether you say Viva España or Vamos España, there's some different political and cultural implications to those two expressions. But Spain won, of course, Wimbledon. Carlos did, Alcaraz, and then the Spanish, the Euro Cup, the football, the soccer, and then SailGP, and the LIV golf. The Spanish
Nice day for
won
the
all
Spanish.
4. And yes, indeed, Julia, and you were cheering for them.
I was from the very beginning.
You were never in doubt. You were never in doubt. I give you full credit. But let's look at this nice Rolex video about Wimbledon. I sat there and watched this Sunday morning, and after the madness that had happened here Saturday night in the U.S.,
Right.
and I turn on this Sunday morning because I want to see it. I love tennis. I'm not a very good tennis player, but I love it, and I wanted to see if if Alcaraz could do his thing again. And as Paul Henderson and others of our foes have said, the history and tradition of Wimbledon, they don't change much. They maintain the traditions. It is so classy. It is so cool. And the commentators are so above the fray. They pause. I was talking to Emmett this morning, texting with John and saying, like the Wimbledon commentators, it doesn't hurt, and unlike us who talk nonstop, it doesn't hurt to take a pause.
Yes.
And let the action play itself out. You don't have to tell everybody he hit the ball. Oh, he hit a forehand. Oh, he hit a drop shot. Oh, there's that big baseline shot. He's attacking the net. Excuse me. We can all see it.
Right.
We can all see it.
Yeah.
And a little pause, and then to illuminate the action, especially in the breaks, is what is so nice to see from high-end commentary.
And those who know what they're talking about.
And from those who know what they're talking about, indeed. So here's a little video from Rolex talking about classy sponsors who apparently are, in fact, as we reported the other day, are pulling out of F1. So they've been involved as the official timepiece since 2013. So after 11 years, they're pulling out, and I think that can only be good, bode well for yacht racing, for sailing, and here is, as well as tennis and golf, but have a look at this classy video.
The defending champion, Carlos Alcaraz.
Game, set, and match. Alcaraz.
Of course, they had that pre-produced. That ran literally seconds after the end of the match. And it's, again, so classy. I'm sure they had one pre-produced in case Djokovic won. The two of them gave fabulous interviews on the court. And of course, they had Her Royal Highness, the Princess Catherine, was there to present. So it's nice to see her back in public. She looked darn good, looked fine. But it's a class act. And I wish our sport could do more to emulate tennis, to emulate golf for that matter, but particularly tennis. And this event, Wimbledon, is the top of the heap. Bravo Zulu to them. Bravo Zulu also to the country of Spain and their soccer team, their football team that won the Euro Cup, also on Sunday. Oops, I don't want to go to that yet. I thought I had a lower third but I don't. That is obviously His Majesty King Felipe, and his daughter, the princess, is in there someplace. They're both sailors. I don't see her. They in the caption of this photo, which I think came from Reuters, mentioned that she was in it. And Bravo Zulu to Spain, and of course the sailing king. He's not as big a sailor as his dad was, but nonetheless, nice to see sailors in fact, somebody needs to recruit Alcaraz, and get him to go sailing. Somebody take him sailing. Let's see if we can convert him to our sport. Now,
comes the black
Sail GP.
Who's got their timing right? They're all going to hit the line fast. Spain's so fast at the top of the line. Pole predictor says they're going to lead at Mark 1, but I think they're going to struggle to get round the top of the Australians from here. Absolute drag racing at the moment. New Zealand.
Now, that's the whole thing. That was the race. And the commentary was wrong. I don't see how they're going to get over the top of New Zealand and Australia. I'll play it again and listen and watch.
Comes the black foils. Who's got their timing right? They're all going to hit the line fast. Spain's so fast at the top of the line.
Now, it was fabulous. It was a fabulous start. And there is the moment in that video, and I'll go back again. That is the moment that they are ahead. And the commentators are still saying, oh, they're going to have a hard time getting over Australia and New Zealand.
Pole predictor says they're going to lead at Mark 1, but I think they're going to struggle to get round the top of the Australians from here.
Yeah,
Absolute drag racing at the moment. New Zealand.
Well, that was it. And they got to the mark first, as we'll show you in subsequent videos. They led the whole way around, despite having breakage in their rudder, apparently on the last downwind leg.
Kiwis.
No, Spanish.
Oh, the Spanish.
Spanish actually had a problem and still managed to win. And there's another commentary where they say, and they're trying to build this into something that sounds more exciting than it is. But, it's plenty exciting. We sat at the yacht club, didn't we, Julia?
Yeah.
And it was plenty exciting. Just sitting there watching it. The crowd was animated. We didn't have to have the commentary, the oohs and the ahs from the crowd when the boats had a near capsize or they got a little up and going around that first mark right in front of us, a couple hundred meters away from us there in the
No better viewing space than
It was
that.
good.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all that, but Bravo Zulu to Spain, but especially their Sail GP team for what they achieved here in San Francisco on Sunday.
And it's unpopular, I know, but I like to see somebody else win.
I think a lot of people did. I was predicting Australia.
Yeah.
A lot of people were cheering. In fact, we had the owners of the Kiwi team were doing their owner, that company Alvarium, I think it's called. They had a hospitality suite for their own people at St. Francis Yacht Club.
Yeah.
And cool people, nice job, and it's disappointing, obviously, for them after they won the season leading up to that final race. Tremendous shout out. Craig Gordon is saying to your super dad, thanks, Craig. They're back on that interview. I thought Novak won last year. No, Novak lost last year. Carlos has now won 2, if memory serves. Tell me if I'm wrong, all you Fozy. It's an extremely nice scarf, David James is saying. Julia, what the hell?
Thank you very much, guys.
What the hell? It's not that nice, David.
He appreciates its history.
Well, it is nice, but wait till you see her dress that you wore to the yacht club. Everybody was in. They were stopping by to compliment you on your dress at the club the other day. How embarrassing. Chris Exley it's sweltering in Salem, Mass in the Northeast. And it's apparently hot in Annapolis, too, because Jeff Ogle, thanks, Jeff, we're using your comment later on. Howdy from the surface of the sun. Must be hot in Annapolis, in the Northeast and in the East Coast. What else here? Hello from Philadelphia, where Mary Jude says it's 101 Fahrenheit, so that's up there approaching 40 C. Alistair Murray, so thrilled to see all those Spanish wins, even if they did beat the Aussies in Sail GP. Yep. And I still haven't had time to put Alistair's. I'll use it Friday. But Alistair, who's become this global traveler and taking great stuff for us, we're going to have an A for you on Friday. Emmett says they only let him talk for 3 hours today. Groover, in-race Sail GP. I know Spain was leading, but Slingers had another technical issue. The fix was on all season to keep him from a four-peat. You think, Steve? There are a lot of people who think the same. I hope that's not the case. But it was a great start, as John Emmett is saying, by España. Total Blanca Lavar. Yeah, it was not quite a total whitewash, but on Sunday, but nearly so, including especially Sail GP. Just backing up to Saturday night, I'm only going to put one slide in. But and thank you to all of you who sent comments. So many of you sent comments and say we're so sorry to see what happened, but so relieved that Mr. Trump, past President Trump, and perhaps future President Trump, one never knows, had he not had his head he turned toward that screen that was above his right shoulder, and in doing so, his head, instead of presenting the side of his head, he presented the head, a narrower version of the head.
Yeah.
It probably would have gone right into his skull, and who knows? It would have been a complete and utter shit show. Excuse me, Julia, in this country, a scheisse show.
Yes.
Had that happened, it would have not been pretty. It would not. So that's behind us. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again. Hopefully, they sort out what really did happen, because it sounds like it was not a well done security job in Butler, PA, Pennsylvania, on Saturday evening. What are we celebrating today, Julia? That's not the University of Michigan's blue and yellow. That's not Ukraine's blue and yellow.
It's some snake.
There's a lot of a lot of blue and yellow in your scarf there. Mm-hmm. We're celebrating World Snake Day.
Oh, my God.
Did you know there was such a thing?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I didn't know.
Do you like snakes?
No. And are there really blue snakes? How did it get to
There are, and the blue snakes are really dangerous snakes, in fact.
I'm sure they are.
I don't know much about them, except that my beloved sister Ruth, who is number 2 of the Eamon kids, she has a great farm and a menagerie of animals,
right,
including tortoises and alligators, and at least has had in the past. She has a tortoise now, and all the other farm animals, and I don't know how many dogs. I don't know how many dogs running around.
Or cats.
Well, aren't many cats, because I don't think the dogs and the cats get along very well. But the point was that growing up, she had a boa constrictor. I think I've told this story before, have I? She had a boa constrictor. She kept it in an aquarium, big aquarium, glass aquarium, and once a week, she would feed the snake a mouse. She had to raise field mice separately, and she'd feed it on. And if we were having a party, if the adults were over, or if I had my high school friends over, they all wanted to see the snake eat. So she'd drop that poor mouse in there, and you'd see it running around in the aquarium.
Oh.
And the snake's tongue was going, and he had an idea, or she, I guess, had an idea what was going on. And sooner or later, in one gulp, and then a long swallow, you watch the bulge go down the snake. I had to tell the story on World Snake Day, but that was real entertainment in the Eamon household on Friday nights when I was growing up in high school, thanks to my beloved sister Ruth on World Snake Day. The English word snake comes from the Old English word snacka. The reptile is thought to have come from terrestrial lizards that existed around, get this, 174 million to 163 million years ago. In fact, how do you pronounce this, Julia?
I don't know. Eophus.
Eophus underwoodi. Sounds like venereal disease. The oldest fossil snake.
Go.
Poor
Go,
Julia.
Poor thing.
I'll say it again. Eophus underwoodi, the oldest fossil snake, lived in England about 167 million years ago. However, even before researchers learned about the numerous snake species, the reptile was mentioned in ancient mythologies and was also an integral part, as you all know, of various religions. For instance, the Bible, Satan took on the form of a snake that existed in the Garden of Eden, and it is due to the snake that Eve consumed the forbidden apple and was
Banished.
And that's given the snake, for better or worse, has given it a Satan-like reputation, a satanic reputation ever since, Julia.
Yes.
Unlike our Fozy, how was that for a segue, who do not have a Satan-like a satanic.
Absolutely not.
We love our Fozy. Without them, this show, our studio, this would not happen. Thanks for your support, whether you're a watcher, a regular viewer, whether you are on the show regularly or even once in a blue moon. But those of you who give us $1 or $2 or more per month, we appreciate it very much, and it literally does keep us on the air. Viva España, vamos España, whatever your favorite expression is. We'll get into the Olympics here and then into Sail GP. What else do we have by way of comments? Bravo Zulu Team ESP, Chris Exley is saying. And
Steve Gruber says the worst snakes are human.
yeah, you know what, when I was preparing that last night, I generally do the what are we celebrating and what's this day in history.
Yeah.
I do it the night before, the afternoon before. And I thought, let's go on to Google and ask who are considered to be snake-like humans. Yeah. And it immediately got political.
Yes.
And I thought, well, let's not be political today.
No.
It's bad enough to think about what happened Saturday night. Jody Shields is not a snake. It's colder than my girlfriend's heart in Wanji. What? Oh, it's colder in Wanji. It's colder than his girlfriend's heart. Okay, it's hot everywhere up here in the Northeast. Can you put some of that cold in a box and ship it to Connecticut? Steve Gruber says. Nope ropes. What's that mean? Is that about snakes? They become blue by eating lots of sperms. I don't think so, John. What happens when snakes... Uh-oh, Julia, get your finger ready.
I have no idea.
What happens when snakes eat Viagra?
They get diarrhea.
It got better once TV was invented. Okay, everybody's laughing about John. The worst snakes are human. You've read that one. Monica Mino. Nice to have you back on, Monica. I haven't seen you while they're in Texas. I hope you don't have to experience this heat. Apparently it's hot in Texas as well. Yeah, it's hotter than a snake's ass in a wagon rut. Now, there's an expression for about a cold-blooded animal I have never heard. And notwithstanding that I was born in the year of the snake.
Were you?
I was. So you can call me a snake if you want.
No.
You can call me anything you want, just don't, as my
Got for
grandfather's,
breakfast.
don't call me late for dinner, as my grandfather used to say. Nice, Canada, Denmark, etc. Oh, people were singing it, oh, Canada. You know, I like Phil Robertson, but Julia, I get the impression that, I said it on Friday's show, that team with a Kiwi doesn't get nearly the support in Canada and perhaps from sponsor owners that it would if it had Canadian sailors. Several of you have made that same point.
Right.
that there needs to be a stronger nationality rule, especially for sailing countries, of which Canada clearly is a major sailing country. And yeah, Phil's done a nice job moving around to help these other teams. But he's also, Phil's one of these guys who's got a great sense of humor, and he comes off as not being very serious in the press conference. I'm not going to run it, but I think it's professional sports, and you need to be, I think, serious in these interviews, or more serious. You don't need to be,
Patriotic in any case.
well, you don't need to be dark and, Voldemort, or, that
Yeah.
kind of darkness. But I think you've got to be, these guys some of them are so enamored of the spotlight and, I'm doing a press conference and television and all the cameras and so that they are not serious, and they need to take it a little more seriously. I'm sure they are serious,
Yeah.
but maybe that's it. No, you don't see any Smurfs when snakes are around. I'll never forget too. I was running around our little lake as a kid, and there was a breakwater and a step down from the grass down to the breakwater to get into the water, and I must have been, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10, yeah, because we were living on the other side of the lake. And when I was about to step down, there was a snake, and it was just it turns out, I'm sure it was just a garden variety water. It wasn't a water moccasin.
Yeah.
Just a snake. It was nothing. And I wet myself. I almost stepped on it, and I screamed like a little girl
Yes.
or a little boy.
Yes.
And I ran away, and I couldn't go down into that for a year. It was so frightening.
We have lots of rattlesnakes in Calistoga.
Well, rattlesnakes, that's another issue. But you can hear them, generally, before they're going to attack, right?
Not when they're asleep.
Yeah, but you don't step on them, do you?
That's how you get them. Bit because they love to lie in the sun.
Well, you got to walk around in big boots if you're going to do that.
I know.
You ever have one come up on your porch on Calistoga? Do you go out? What do? You go out and grab it and skin it and eat it?
I know somebody who would, but it's not me.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, not me. Okay, here we are on World Snake Day, still talking about snakes. Let's get to the Olympics coming up in 10 days. The opening ceremony is a week from this Friday on the River Seine, and we shall see how that all goes. But first, let's get to John Emmett's report. He is not at the Olympics. He's actually at what is, in effect, the Junior Olympics in our sport, the World Youth Championship, or the Youth Worlds, they now call it. And it's a beautiful, fabulous Lake Garda hosted by the FIV, the Federazione Italiana di Vela. And he filed a report yesterday morning. I had his report yesterday. He filed it from Gatwick just before he flew to Garda.
Wow.
Good morning, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. I feel I need to be fairly quiet because I'm sat here in the BA lounge in London Gatwick disturbing other people's breakfasts. But I thought it was nice to check in as I fly off to the Youth World Championships, which is, as I said, in my mind, a very important event because it's almost like the Youth Olympic Games. It's that thing where there's only one sailor per country and that pressure and going as part of a national team, and quite a lot's been made of the various selections in different countries, and quite a lot's been made of the fact the Australian team is not going to be there at the Youth Worlds. And when you look at some of their top sailors now who've come through that system, that's quite disappointing from my perspective, but I mean, I'm sure federations have their reasons. But the thing that has worried me is the publicity for the Youth Worlds has been very, very little. It seems to have been hardly mentioned, so I'm going to do my best to try and promote the event. And of course the lovely Lily will be out there as well doing her media role, so it'd be great to get some feedback, you know, what I could do better, how things could be improved, and just how we can better promote the sport. It's going to be a fairly short chat now because, as I say, I don't want to disturb too many people in the lounge. But I think travel is one of these things, the more you do it, the easier it gets. In the UK, this is just the beginning of the school holidays. You can possibly even hear some little voices in the background. and that's a reason for allowing yourself lots of time to get to the airport and do things in a safe way, just like on the racetrack where you have your risk-reward ratio, and then you can always kill a bit of time with a beer and with a good book. So I've been saving this up for when I'm doing a bit of travelling, and it's nice to have that time now to take advantage of that. The big event obviously coming up later is the Olympic Games. I'm sure there's going to be lots of discussion about that. But for now, just wishing everybody to sail safe, sail fast, and most importantly, have fun, and let us know what you're going to be doing.
Don't fly on the first day of the summer holidays, John Emmett is saying in the comments. You know, he's obviously got a lot of miles, and he does as much traveling as anybody I know, Alistair Murray notwithstanding, the president of the Australian Sailing Federation, whom I did ask at one point why the Aussies didn't send a team this year. And it's, you know, it's a resource issue. They've got plenty of competition in Australia. They've got a lot of people focused on the Olympics right now, and coaching and media and money. So, you know, all these federations have to make a judgment, have to make decisions, hard decisions, resource allocation decisions. But I will say this, the Youth Worlds is a terrific event. It was my first international experience, I think, and I was coaching, not sailing. Mm-hmm. But I took the U.S. team back in the late 70s as their coach, to Italy as well. It was in Livorno, and that's where it was hosted at their National Olympic Center at the CONI, the Italian National Olympic Center in Livorno. And the facilities weren't terrific, but they were okay. And we met a lot of kids whom we now still know.
I was going to say, that's the time to meet them.
And the American kids who were, I won't go into that list, but they're all terrific sailors who've gone forward to great things. Mm-hmm. And it is a terrific event, the Youth World Championships. And when a country doesn't send their kids, it's too bad. But again, it's expensive.
Yeah,
it is not easy. You know, John said one other thing, Julia. He said, speaking of travel, he said, travel gets easier the more of it you do. Well, John, let me tell you, it gets easier the more of it you do. And then the more of it you do, at some point, it becomes just, and I'm flying around the world from Europe to New Zealand every 6 weeks, and then flying back from New Zealand back to Europe. And I did that for years, doing, overlapping, and it gets easier and easier and easier. I mean, you traveled all your business career.
Right.
To be a headhunter, especially when you were a headhunter.
Yeah.
And then it starts getting harder, John. It gets harder until you're at some point. I don't even want to go to Newport. I want to go to Newport Beach, and I will on Sunday. But the last thing I want to do is pack again, although it is easy. I can pack in my sleep, take the same thing.
Right.
I can pack a studio.
Especially easier for you.
Well, it is for men, obviously. And you take a blazer, and you take a few shirts and a few changes of underwear and a couple of shorts and flip-flops and the topsiders, and that's it.
That's it.
And I can pack a studio now, too, in about, maybe not 20 minutes, but in a half an hour in my roll-on bag, and away we go. Travel. Alistair Murray. I just did an interview with Mark Jardine of Sailing World regarding Australia's position on Youth Worlds. Please listen to it. So put the link, if you can, please, Alistair, if it's already out, in the comments, and we'll all go listen to it. Pedro Filing Sailor says, I struggle to get out of bed these days. And John is doing the commentary. I stumbled upon that this morning. He didn't tell me he was going there to do commentary. He may not have known he was going to be doing all the commentary, but that he is doing. Lily is alongside him. But first, let's look at the day one video review from World Sailing and the FIV of the Youth Worlds.
Here in Lake Garda for the 2024 Youth Sailing World Championships. The IQ4U youth windsurfers enjoyed fast and furious slalom races.
me feeling very powerful, and yeah, I know I can do it, and I just have to remain focused the whole week and preserve the energies and give it all.
Gorgeous. Isn't it?
The Centimiglia, which is on Garda, is wonderful.
Under the brilliant condition of sunshine and 50 to 20 knots of wind.
I'm trying to remember. I've been to Trentino a
Racing
couple
will
times.
continue tomorrow, and we'll have live coverage on Ilka and Necra classes.
Oh, she's
Don't
great.
miss out.
Thank you, Lily.
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Yes, yes.
Trentino's fabulous, as John will tell you. And I've been there. I've never sailed there, I don't think. I've judged there. And I'm not sure what else. Maybe a couple of meetings. But there is where I came across today the live day 2 coverage. And that what you just saw was a recap of day 1.
Yeah.
And that's the Youth Sailing World Championships that's hosted by World Sailing. And World Sailing TV is live. With the co-commentators are Super Fozy, Ligia, Zhu Ligia,
Yeah.
better known as Golden Lily Zhu, and of course John Emmett.
Yeah.
Garda, near the top of my sailing bucket list, just like Switzerland was at the tip for skiing. Yep.
And John Emmett said he didn't even know he was doing the opening ceremony.
Well, yeah, I guess he knew he was going to help Lily with the commentary. Maybe that's why he was there. But come on, John, you're a pro, and it's great you got pressed into service.
Right.
That happens to the best of us, and even the worst of us. Jonathan Frank's got the best comment, Julia, of the day. We'll catch up and reply. The AC repair guy just showed up, and that's in Texas,
Oh yeah.
where it no doubt is hot. So that's the World Sailing Youth Worlds. John and Lily doing the commentary, and I commend it to you. They did a fabulous job. I was listening earlier today as I was preparing the show, and that's our segment from John Emmett. John Emmett Sailing. Get to the front of the fleet. Thanks again, John and Lily, for your service to the sport. Viva España! Vamos España! Bravo Zulu to them. Let's get into...
John and Lily are perfectly suited for international sports.
Well, especially as a couple.
Yes.
They speak the two most important and most widespread languages. If one of them spoke Spanish, it would really be good.
Yes.
But to speak Mandarin, and she speaks Shanghaise as well, because that's where she's from, or her parents are from, as well as, of course, now English, fluently.
Yeah, her English is really good right now.
Julia, who's this? He's from Wanji. He's Jody's neighbor.
Oh yes, Otteridge.
That is Nathan Otteridge, and his esteemed brother, Bo, is the photographer for the Australian sailing team, and is supplying some of this stuff that we're going to show you. But Baton Rouge is saying that the Sunfish Worlds were there. I don't think I was there for that. I've chaired the jury a couple times, Sunfish Worlds, but I don't believe it was
Garda?
that. Yeah, not at Garda. I did it once in Medemblik and in the Netherlands, once down in the island somewhere. But nonetheless, this is Sail GP, and we told you on Friday that Nathan Otteridge, who is another journeyman driver. He started out driving for Japan, as you probably most of you will remember, and then has been driving of late and probably just has sailed his last regatta because he's also the B-side driver for Emirates Team New Zealand in the America's Cup. So he is with them and no doubt is back in Barcelona already. He predicted Spain would be in the finals with New Zealand and Australia, Julia, even before you did.
Well, he should know.
Well, I think it was a tough call because you would expect that France, especially if it was breezy.
Yeah, because they looked really good.
And in the early racing, they looked really good, even on Sunday morning till they broke their boat, and we'll show you how that happened.
Yeah.
So bravo Zulu to the Spanish. It was a magnificent surprise, I think, a stunning surprise, and well deserved because this kid, he's what is he, 30? Somebody knows how old he is.
Yeah.
Diego Botín and his crew, who they're sailing in SailGP, they're sailing in the Olympics now in the 49er. They are good. And here is how day one transpired.
Day one, race one at event 13 here in San Francisco. Todd Harris, Emily Nagel with you, and it was all about the French. Emily getting off the line first.
It was big breeze today, back on the little wings for the first time this season, and the French did not disappoint. They came out of the starting blocks flying and nailed all 3 starts.
The polar opposite were the Spanish as they tried to get a little too fancy on the outside, got blocked by the Canadians. Meanwhile, as Spain is having their problems, Emily, France just seemed to sail so well. Remember, they didn't practice yesterday because of mechanical issues, and Spain dead in the water.
Exactly. It was straight into the fire for the French, but they executed it perfectly all the way around the course in the first race. Wasn't perfect in the second. They did make it to Mark 1 first, but some boat handling errors really cost them. And we saw that amongst the fleet, just tiny little errors coming off the foils. With these little wings, it's really hard to re-accelerate and get going again.
Spain again in the back of the pack, but they would move up to 6th place. So France wins race number 1. It's Australia that wins race number 2, and there were some tight moments out on the water.
Yeah, loads of boat-on-boat action here, and especially with how gusty it was. Things were happening really quickly. The Canadians, for example, out of control at that finish line. They took out the mark.
On the third and final race, and this may have been the slickest start of all. Look at Contendel up here, bottom of the screen.
He nailed the time and distance, but that wasn't enough for him. He had to take the Spanish out as well.
Meanwhile, Denmark, while Spain and France having a bit of a match race out there on the Pacific, it was all about Denmark and Nikolai Sehested. Emily, 3 races, 3 different winners.
It's big things for tomorrow. You know, we've got more breeze again, more high-speed racing. Still so much can happen.
All right, day number 2 coming up. Remember, it all leads up to the SailGP Season 4 Grand Final in San Francisco.
You know, the truth is that Spain were fast because even when they had that one start where they were in the back of the pack off their foils.
Right.
And they caught back up pretty quickly to the middle of the fleet, and they're quick.
Yeah.
So that was good. Here is the day 2 recap.
It was fully on day 2, SailGP, San Francisco, the French and the Spanish out the back, Emily, and things would get even more sporty.
Yeah, early on the French tried to take out the Spanish, but resulted in them both being at the back of the pack and having to deal with so much traffic around the course.
And this was the moment, Stevie, they made contact with Denmark.
Yeah, just fractionally wrong in terms of where they lined themselves up with that mark. They didn't have the right of way there. Big error, massively costly, broke the rudder, and you can just see what that meant to them.
So the French docked 8 points. They damaged the rudder. They are out. That means Spain goes on, and it is a lock. So race number 5 really was just a dress rehearsal, and Australia came out looking sharp.
Australia looked really fast all day, to be perfectly honest. They were hitting the start line well. Spanish, well, they had a battle within a battle, didn't they? So I suppose we perhaps didn't really know what they had to offer, but they didn't seem to be the smoothest looking they'd ever been, whereas Australia, they were really on form. They had the momentum, and it was the Kiwis kind of had almost anything but momentum, really. They were struggling on the starts. This is, we always associate them with silky smooth sailing, and it just wasn't like that today. Slingsby was back.
Yeah,
Race
it was
2 to the Australians.
really disappointing for that Kiwi team. Just not nailing those maneuvers, struggling the whole way round.
And then it was on to the grand final, the fight for $2 million. Pretty even at the start, but Diego Botín, Stevie, whole shot at mark number 1 and would not look back.
Well, his timing was just perfect. Slightly faster angle into Mark 1, and Australia and New Zealand just fighting each other a little bit. Australians had to do a little bit of dodging that we'd probably rather not see them have to deal with. But it was very, very close at the bottom of the course here. That was a really tight shout, but the Spanish said opened room for the Australians. Wouldn't be surprised if Slingsby's not totally happy about that. And then from here on, well, Spain did a great job of locking the race down.
And this was then the moment Australia went for a final maneuver, dropped off the foils, went to the Spanish.
Spanish will take the win in the $2 million, with Australia finishing in second, New Zealand in third, and the party was on shore. Diego Botín and company take the top honors and get season 4.
Okay, so there are the replays from days 1 and 2, and you've got to give the Danish credit. Gordon Smith is correct in saying that the Danes had a great regatta. I mean, I think they won on points before that final race. They didn't qualify for the final race. That can't be true. That can't be true. But they were in 4th place overall, I guess, after the 3 finalists. And they had quite a good regatta. And Gordon, you'll be pleased to know that there were a lot of Danish supporters. When we drove into the club, Julia, on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Remember, there was the Danish guy, and I stuck my head out the car, and I said, "Hey, we're cheering for Nikolai Sehested." Oh, okay. He was very good. What else? Taylor's comments notwithstanding, Peter Taylor is saying, I think he's talking about Taylor Canfield, "I cannot imagine the U.S. investors are happy. I met the owner of the Team USA, the former tech bro. He was at Google. No, he was at Uber. He's a former Uberite, and I met him here at St. Francis Sunday morning. He was up there watching, and a very nice guy. He and his wife have become quite avid sailors. They're members of St. Francis Yacht Club, even though I think they're now living in Florida. But cool stuff. Australia won the regatta, and the Danes were second. Yeah, that's right. So I was not mistaken. Yeah. You could do well in the regatta, but not get, because it's not who were the top 3 in the regatta. It was the top 3 in the season that got to that final race, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I seriously hope that both ESP and FRA make it to season 5. Yeah, another one of the problems was that you maybe saw in that video, and they didn't explain it, but I was talking with Stingray about it. Something happened to the leeward gate at the end of the racing.
The gate itself? The
gate. There was only one mark down there, and the rules say that when there's only one mark, you round whatever mark is there. For some reason, the other leeward gate mark broke free or got out of position or something. Oh. I mean, broke free. They're not anchored. These are these mark set bots that they're self-controlled. They have their little engine underneath, and they have GPS, and the race committee can literally program where by Latlan, by GPS, where they go.
Yeah.
And one of them was not there, so they had to round, I guess it was the bottom starboard mark, and it was the only way they could go was to come. And that calls, instead of the ability to split at the bottom gate and maybe find something in the other direction, you got to round up in the gas, the dirty air of the boat ahead, and follow them in the same direction, in this case into the shore.
Oh, I hadn't realized that.
And that caused it to be a bit of a parade, at least in that final race, and maybe on Sunday all day. I don't know when that mark, maybe one of the FOSI will know that. Here's a video now from the Brits, from, what's the name of the team? The British Sail GP team. It's still Ineos Britannia. And they have issued quite a good video, and I thought we should have a look at this.
Oh, the team are awesome today. We wanted to try and win the event, to be honest, and everything else, with the grand final was pretty out of our hands in terms of, Spain and Australia needed damage points for us to stand a chance, and so, yeah, it was kind of, let's just go out and try and win the regatta and see where we end up. Fought till the end. We almost got the Danish to get 4th in the overall season, but wasn't quite to be in that final race. So yeah, just an awesome day sailing in San Francisco.
Can they get inside that circle? I don't think they can. They've got to keep clear.
Too close.
It's going to crash. Oh,
We got
no.
collision. Spain comes safely, protects the asset. They're on their way to the grand final. Vamos España! Spain claims season 4.
God, it's been like all SailGP seasons, I guess, really up and down. You know, we obviously had a great part near the start with Ben still driving and winning two events back to back, and really felt the momentum building. And then, you know, Ben stepped off the boat, Giles came in. We had a tough few events with Giles getting up to speed and learning the F50, which is no easy feat at all. Did an amazing job to then, you know, get 3 podiums on the bounce right at the end of the season. For next season, it's a really good place to be.
Emirates GBR, not Ineos. Emirates GBR, of course, the name of the Sail GP team, Julia. And, you know, Hannah Mills is so sharp and so nice, so articulate. Anytime I see her in a video, I've got a soft spot in my heart for her. And Giles, for that matter, who's a hell of a good sailor. How come the announcers can't speak at this pace during the racing? He means the pace that they did in the. That's because they're reading it. During the commentary, they're talking over each other and they get excited and something happens, and instead of describing what happened, they go, "Whoa!" Fuck-a-rama. Excuse my language, Julia. Excuse me. I know. Do it again. I didn't get it on camera. There we go. But I seriously hope ESP and France make it to season 5. I agree, Stingray, because there are those 2 teams as well as Canada and Germany. Germany's owned? Who's the other team? Oh, it's Australia that's on the cusp of maybe getting cut if they don't have an owner. Alistair Murray is very sportingly, the president of Australian Sailing, of course, saying it didn't change the outcome, the fact there wasn't a leeward gate. And thanks Chris, saying that it only happened in the grand final, and Steve Gruber saying yet another, quote, technical issue that hurt Oz. Oh no, the MarkBot left position. Yep. Okay, Stingray, I talked to him. He said, that AI upgrade to the MarkSet bots has already created problems. They now have a mind of their own, including about if to follow orders or not. And what he said, Julia, I talked to him this morning before the show, and he said, yeah, maybe the bots now are not only being guided by GPS, but maybe they do have a mind of their own, and they could see that they needed to help Spain because they were under orders, or they just decided on their own that they shouldn't help Australia or New Zealand.
No. Well, they probably did.
And of course, Julia, any number of people would have said that the Kiwis can't seem to win on San Francisco Bay.
I know.
We all remember back to 2013. Not that Pete Burling was a part of that team, because he wasn't.
No.
And the Aussies had Tom Slingsby. He was with us in 2013, and of course we did win. That is Oracle Team USA.
You just remind people that it was 7-0. And
8-0.
8-0
in 2013.
In 2013, and
they went. Yeah, the Kiwis went a cropper, as you would say, or not you necessarily. 100 messages so far today. Yes, Emily Nagel is great. Not a fan of the 2 gentlemen. We won't carry on about commentators. Just put Jody Shields back there. The Kiwis are the other team that could be cut. Oz. Oh, that's right. Oh, is that right? Jody knows this. Look at this. Here's breaking news.
Yeah.
Oz are safe due to the new ownership to be announced soon. Great news. Great news,
That's
Jody.
good.
Thank you for that. So the Kiwis are the other team that are at risk. Now, I'm going to replay that same video, but just an excerpt to show you what happened to the French. Watch, because I think the French thought they were inside the circle, which meant they would have right-of-way even though they're coming in on port tack. If they were inside on port tack, they had the right-of-way, and the other boat had to keep clear because the rules have been simplified under this high-speed sailing. However, you'll plainly see they're outside the 2-boat length circle, and it's a port starboard. Why they didn't tack earlier because they overstand the mark. It looks like they go
Yeah, they
beyond
did.
the
Yeah.
ley line.
Yeah.
So have a look here at this video, and I'll play it again.
And they get inside that circle. I don't think they can. They've got to keep clear.
There it is. It's the Danes clearly have to turn up to keep clear. Why the French haven't tacked before that? They think they're inside the circle, as I just said, which would have given them right away, although they couldn't have kept going. They still have to tack and try to get around the mark. And the Kiwis are ahead and clear ahead and in good shape. But this was a complete and utter cock-up. And when they got up there on their side like that, the rudder, I don't know if you saw it maybe, some of you will know, but the rudder on the starboard side when the boat got way up, the rudder must have banged into the Danes because it knocked off the windward or the starboard side of the foil on the bottom, the T-foil on the bottom of the rudder.
Yeah.
So they were out and they couldn't race after that because the boat won't elevate well and yada, yada. So that was that situation. I'll let it carry on. And the commentators, oh no! And they're talking over each other and shouting and explaining. As I said to John Emmett this morning when we were talking about commentary, we were texting back and forth. You know, it's just sometimes it's better to shut the F up like the commentators at Wimbledon do. I said at the top of the show.
Yeah.
We'll go back and look. Let's go back and look at that, Julia. I don't know. Enough of that. Should we look at that one more time?
Well, you're there.
We'll look at it one more time. Why not, Julia? Let's see if I can get that running one more time.
And they get inside that circle. I don't think they can. They've got to keep clear.
There, I'm doing it frame by frame now. And I could have zoomed this, I suppose. But it's as they get up on their ear, on their port pontoon, the rudder hits the port pontoon of the Danes that are to windward of them. And that's where they break the T-foil on the bottom of their rudder. And they are now screwed with a capital F. Sadly. Oh, no! Okay, enough of all that. Baton Rouge says there is broadcasting school. The second new team after Brazil will apparently be announced in September. Well, we shall see, Stingray. There was a lot of information going around about the cost, and Russell gave that interview on CNBC that we talked about the other day. In fact, I put that on my Facebook page, that CNBC interview that he did last week. And then I ran that piece on Friday's show with Julian DiBiase, who is the COO, good guy, Swiss guy, who's the COO of SailGP. And I ran that on the show on Friday from the excerpts of his interview in Tip and Shaft.
Yes.
And Graham Sweeney says, I heard they were using new T-fit foils soon. Well, we'll see. I think they're going to T-foils they are using L foils, but then they're going to T-foils, right? On the bottom of the main foils, the dagger foils, right, for next season? Seems to me that FRA may have been too focused on ESP with DEN kind of in the blind spot. Yeah, Steve, maybe, but in any event, it was a fuster cluck of magnificent proportions for the French. I was cheering for Quentin Delapierre. As Clark Chapin said, somebody should give the FRA team the broken pieces of their rudder to help focus their thoughts in the off season. Yeah, perhaps. Okay, now I'm going to go to, they do this post-race interviews in front of the media wall, the step and repeat wall. And I'm not going to run all of them. I'm just going to run the top three, and that alone I think is 5 minutes. But interesting insight from the winning and runner-up skippers.
Diego, you've had about an hour for it to set in. Has it set in that you just won season 4 of SailGP?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, beating the Kiwis and the Aussies in the grand final here in San Fran, it's in an F50. It doesn't get any better. Yeah, it's amazing. We're sharing with everyone our feelings now, and yeah, we are all out on the moon right now. No, we need to land.
You guys have had an interesting time at SailGP, obviously changing drivers a few times, but it sounds like you've got a really nice combination. Everyone knows their roles and you can perform under pressure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been a big grind. We've been through a lot in this league, and yeah, last season we were last in the end score. We brought the Aussie boat from the mooring here and we craned it out after our boat. And look, this year we win. It's amazing. I think we have a very amazing team, and yeah, let's see if we can keep it together, keep the ball rolling.
And maybe talk us through that final. Obviously, the New Zealand and Kiwis, they were tussling. You'd had a fight all weekend with the French. Did you feel free and you could just sail your own race?
A little bit, yes. I mean, I guess we were in a very good position mentally because the Aussies were the defenders, the Kiwis had a massive lead in the overall season, no? And they've been thinking a lot about the final. We're like focusing on improving through the weekend and getting into the final in the best play shape possible. And at the end, we ended up going into the final, not having thought too much about it. We just looked at each other. We said, yeah, let's just rip it from the back wall and try to go over everyone here. And we did, and we managed to stay on the foils. And yeah, it was very good.
Tom, you had an amazing day, won the event, but that final, it just looked like a few things went wrong. You were right on the hammer until the very end.
Yeah, no, I've just got to be so proud of our team. I mean, yeah, we feel a little hard done by it, but we did everything we could to win that race. And yeah, I mean, New Zealand probably feel hard done by winning the season. We definitely won the day, but Spain got the final race, so you've got to be proud of your team and take your hat off to Spain because they did what they had to do, performed in that final race, and congrats to them.
It's been an up and down season for you guys, obviously finishing strong here in San Francisco, not strong enough, but are you excited about the future of this team?
Yeah, I am. I mean, honestly, today, even including the last race, I think we almost sailed as best as we've ever sailed. Yeah, to think of how much pressure we had on us today and the way the guys and the team performed, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more. We could have been knocked out of the final today, and we came out and won both races by a long way. And then in that final, we were, we lost a bit at the bottom mark, went back to third, and then we fought past the Kiwis. We caught right up to the Spanish. We were right in the hunt there, and we just said, stick close. We're going to pass them up this beat. There's nothing they can do to stop us. We're going through. And to have a bit of a tech issue is unfortunate, but the Spanish did what they needed to do.
And I guess for you guys as a team, you've always been the winners, and this time you're not. Do you think that takes the pressure off you next season, or it makes you even hungrier to come back and fight?
I mean, it's all pretty raw right now, the feelings. Yeah, I'm going through a bit of the highs and lows of it all, but I can only imagine it's going to make us hungrier. We could have done a better job, and we've got to identify the weaknesses we have, and we've got to improve. But it's sad that we won't get another grand final in San Francisco. The grand final moving to Abu Dhabi doesn't play to our strengths in general, but we've got to learn and adapt and see how we go.
Pete, I got to ask you, you've won the season by so far on points, but does it hurt not to come away with a win here in San Fran?
Yeah, definitely. We're all feeling the pain at the moment. But yeah, really proud of the way the group's gone about their business all season. It's been a really tough season, and also really proud of the way they bounced back from really tough race 5 to give that final our all. Yeah, we really wanted to go on a positive here, but definitely hurts a bit at the moment.
That final looked like there was, if you stayed in contact, that there was always an opportunity. You guys got right back up there, but it was so changeable out there today. What kind of cost you the race, I guess?
Yeah, it definitely got pretty tricky as soon as they got rid of one of the bottom marks. Made it a bit of a procession, so we took a couple of options that definitely didn't help us. But yeah, we'll have to go back and have a little look. Yeah, it felt like we just struggled to get out of phase, struggled to sail the boat as well as we knew we can. But yeah, I think in saying that, really proud of the way we bounced back from a really tough race 5 in the event as well. So yeah, I mean, super good season for us, but a shame not to be able to wrap it out with a win here.
And the Spanish, they fought the French all weekend. As soon as they got clear air, they were away. Were you pretty impressed with their result?
Yeah. Well, I think the French-Denmark incident was definitely the mark of that whole battle. I thought France really deserved to actually get through in the end. But yeah, then obviously us and Tom did a little bit too much fighting on that first reach. They managed to get just over the top, and then we couldn't quite get them back from there.
I mean, the next season's a little bit further away, but are you already looking forward to getting back racing? I mean, SailGP is getting bigger and bigger and more competitive.
Yeah, I think definitely everyone's looking forward to a few days off, recharge the batteries. I'm sure, what hurts now, we'll still be incredibly proud of the season we've had, leading on points by so far coming into this final event. Obviously super proud of the group, but yeah, hurting quite a lot at the moment. So we'll go back and reflect on that and come out swinging.
Come out swinging. Mm-hmm. Can he win the America's Cup? Or is he done? Is he over the hill? I ask a serious question. He's a hell of a good sailor.
Yeah. I think
he's a hell of a good sailor.
Depends on who the team is.
Well, what if it's American Magic and Tom Slingsby in the finals of the America's Cup, as some people think it could be? American Magic is looking pretty quick.
That's good.
Hears.
That's good.
Well, it is if you're cheering for them. It'll be interesting. It will be interesting. Gordon Smith, they're back and forth with Emmett. Yeah, I guess, okay, they're talking about the moving background. Yeah, that is a little disturbing, but we learn, those who live here and have worked here on this kind of an event, learned long ago that you can't put that kind of a background out in the wind. In fact, we used to put cameras up in the frame when were doing the Big Boat series. Our PTZ, our pan, tilt, zoom, remote controlled cameras like the little ones we have in here. You can't attach those to something that's going to blow in the wind. In fact, I was just talking with Chris Bretschker for down in, because we got PTZ cameras, which he wanted to attach, or he didn't want to do it, but he asked me if we should attach them to the frame of the tent. And I said, no, even though there's no wind in the evenings to speak of, normally this time of year in Newport Beach, don't attach anything to the frame of the tent. Don't have the background, the backdrop, the step and repeat media wall. So yeah, that's an issue. But okay, if that's not the big deal. The big thing is now to find a major sponsor for On the Lock, Jody says. Yes. So we can do next season full time. Couldn't agree more, or better yet, just get you on the commentary team. Use Stevie Morris, not Stevie Morrison, use, what's his name from the U.S., and you go on along with them. Jody would be my guess. Blake Middleton up above, they're saying, I have a non-sailing friend, as opposed to the non-sailing CEO, who watched on Scene watched here in San Francisco. She said, quote, the city put on a damn good show. Yeah, I would agree, wouldn't you, Julia? Huh? It was good.
Yes.
You're the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You leaned out of the shot there. I got to adjust. There you go. That's better.
And we didn't have any rambling whales either.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Good point. Any other comments there before we move ahead? I'm going to do It Ain't Over Till the Rotund Beavers sings, Graham Sweeney say. I'm going to play one more video. And this, I got to give the U.S. team some recognition here, although they had another brutally bad weekend. They didn't send their skipper, their helmsman, to the press conference. Instead, their CEO, managing director, whatever his title is, Mike Buckley, showed up in sunglasses and a Red Bull stocking cap. Here is his interview.
Running out the season, your team's first season here, half a season. How are you feeling about it all?
Yeah, we ended on a good one. We were battling all day today, right? And that's right now we're racing against ourselves, and every day we're getting better. And it doesn't always feel like that when you look at the results, but from where we started to where we are today is, we've climbed the first mountain, and we get to go into the off season feeling, pretty good about it, where we are, but obviously not content with where we are. So a lot of work in the off season.
San Francisco delivers tricky conditions. Everyone was making it look pretty hard. How did it feel in your boat?
Yeah, that last race was pretty hectic. But yeah, I mean, it kind of, when you look around and you see, the best teams in the world, the most seasoned veterans launching out of the water and whatnot, you realize it's a hard day. And it was a really tricky day. Puffs were up and down. And so, yeah, we just kind of try to keep our head down, and it was never over, right? And I think we just saw that in the finals, right? It's SailGP, it's never over, especially when it's tricky conditions and boats are going, 5 times the speed of the boat that made a mistake. So, yeah, it was a great day.
And next season, calendar's been released, a couple more stops in the USA. Are you excited?
Yeah, I mean, our stops in the USA this year were, we're pretty low on the on the leaderboard, and that's frustrating. So hopefully next year for our home fans, we can put on a better show, and we won't stop until we do. But yeah, can't wait to get to Dubai. It's crazy to think we won't be on these boats for a few months, but yeah, we'll go back to the drawing board and hopefully come out strong.
And hopefully come out stronger. We've had Mike Buckley sitting right here in the studio between us when there was a bigger gaposis between your desk and mine when they announced their America's Cup Challenge for Long Beach Yacht Club that didn't go anywhere. And I'm wondering if by not having Taylor at that presser, if Taylor's gone, Taylor Canfield. I have no idea. I'm just wondering.
I don't know.
And I'm looking at the comments. I'm not going to say any more than that. Clark Chapin, only the Americans. All the rest of you non-Americans are being very, very polite. Peter Taylor, Mike Buckley, Joe Holtzman, yeah, I've always told myself that I'm racing against myself. Clark Chapin, sunglasses and a Red Bull stocking cap. Better still would have been a paper bag over his head. That's brutal, Clark.
Oh, yes.
John Emmett's being polite, no surprise. And Clark Chapin, I'll give him the last comment here. Low on the leaderboard. They were even low on the follower board. I mean, they said, we need more air. We'll be better when the breeze is up. When they were sailing early on after they took control of the team and they were sailing in light air, which is admittedly hard. But they struggled all season long. Taylor's hiding in the bar, Ted Ryman says. Well, I think a lot of Taylor. I hope he's not been dismissed. I assume he's not been until we hear it. But they got to rethink what they're doing. And bravo to Russell, who is giving these teams a better practice situation. Chris, actually, a couple of you, Steve Gruber, made the comment, Julia, about a better practice situation going into next year, where they're going to have a couple training camps so that these teams can get themselves together.
And some video games and stuff for them.
Yeah, the
AI.
Not the video games, not the AI. What do you call it? The
simulation.
Simulators. Yeah. The simulator.
Right.
Okay. The dog ate my flash drive. Josh Tozo. Taylor had much better starts this event. Now just need good maneuvers through the course. You know what, Josh? That's a kind comment, but the problem is they are slow. He had good starts. He would maybe be in the top 3 or 4 at that first turning mark. And then he just slowly fell back in the fleet. So the maneuvers weren't good. The speed through the water was not good. We will see how USA compares with the new teams next season. John Emmett has the last word. Okay, Julia, now I've got for you the video I shot of what it was like sitting at our table. We went over there early. You're Yacht Club royalty, so the staff fell all over themselves.
No.
The assistant general manager, Nelson, and the food and beverage guy, they all fell all over themselves. For you,
not me.
And you had a table right there on the window.
That's true.
A couple 100 meters from that turning mark, and this is what our table looked like.
Emirates GPR with
the commentaries going on in the background.
Skipper at 75.
Looking from our table as I shot this video out to the bridge, over to Belvedere,
and kind of an outside long
out
shot
to the turning mark, which is out of focus here right at the start. You'll see it in a second.
Peter Burling is guaranteed if they win.
And the boats are practicing their runs, timed runs over to that mark from the starting line, which is over toward Belvedere, toward Marin County there. And then the rest of the room, which this is on Sunday, it was busier on Saturday, but a nice atmosphere, good commentary, televisions at St. Francis Yacht Club for the members in the upstairs dining room. And wow, what a view! Chris Exley is saying, yeah, it was a good setup. It was a nice setup, and out on the race deck, which was further, just outside the dining room to the east, a lot of people were out there watching. It was cold, it was windy, but watching the view from out there in the wind, a little protection from the clubhouse, which is to the west of the race deck.
I love to watch races on the racetrack.
Well, you're a braver person. A great table. Why is TFE not commentating? TFE commentated the last three years, but I've got Gov Cup coming up, and I just wanted to have a weekend off without having to get all fired up over it. At St. Francis Yacht Club. Now, this is what we were watching, Julia, from that table early on. This was the the Aussies practicing. They'd come across from the starting line, and this is basically what you see for the first little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You see the teams over at the starting line, which is to the north,
Right.
and doing the timed run at the start and then across, because that really is not the
start.
whole race, but it's
Yep.
you got to be to that mark first if you're going to win the race. It's
Yes.
almost certain.
Yeah.
And Tom Slingsby practiced those, and then he went on to have a very good first two races on Sunday. JS had USA in third place when the sale happened. That is Jimmy Spidhill. And the new guys fired everyone, even Coach Presti. Well, Presti goes with Jimmy Spidhill. And they got bigger fish to fry, Stingray. They got to do the America's Cup because they're all with Luna Rosa Prada Pirelli.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we saw from our table, and it was great fun. And then Julia made the prediction. We took a little poll, didn't we?
We did.
And I was predicting Tommy Slingsby based on everything.
Right.
And you were the only one who had the gut feeling that the Spanish were going to come to the fore on Super Sunday for Spain.
Right, because they had the best improvement record all the way through the series.
So here's what you said. Julia was the only one at our table who called it correctly.
Yes.
And you said...
I've been with Spain the whole time.
You have been, and you were right.
Because I was watching their rate of improvement, which they did.
I thought your green meant you were from Australia.
Oh, no. They've had enough of that right now.
Congratulations, you made the right call.
Yay.
Okay, so what do you think, Julia?
Oh, I won thousands of dollars.
If nothing else, you're colorful, and you were right. You were right.
I was. Which is no mean trick in front of three.
Well, there were a bunch of people in and out of our table. I mean,
Yeah.
you're, as I said, you're Yacht Club royalty, so everybody, and you're not over there as often as you used to be, so everybody wanted to come say hi and talk to you and get your opinion, and I was just behaving myself.
Actually, you were.
trying to drink my fake beer.
Yeah.
My Heineken Zero. Hey, they brought that.
Oh, yeah.
What was that dark beer? That's pretty good. That's
Yes.
a non-alcohol beer.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Well done, Julia. Blake Middleton's with you. He was predicting for Spain, one of the few others that did. Bravo Zulu, Julia. And now we've got Sail GP's final thoughts. This video, it's a little longish, but interesting review by the commentators with some juxtaposition of video, and I think a nice way to wrap up Season 4.
So Sail GP Season 4 Grand Final comes to a conclusion alongside Stevie Morrison and Emily Nagel. I'm Todd Harris. What a finish. You cannot tell me coming into that last race that you said Spain's going to clean this thing.
Oh, 100% didn't I? Said that New Zealand would, but ultimately it comes down to that split-second decision on the start, and it's why we love sport, isn't it? It's unscripted drama. You don't know what's going to happen, and but it was brilliant entertainment.
Speaking of World of Sport, how about that day for Spain? They get Wimbledon, they get Live Golf, they get the Euros, and then they get Sail GP.
Absolutely incredible scenes. And you know what? That team just deserve, I mean, they all deserve it, but Spain are just so humble about it. You know, you see them on the stage saying, yeah, you know, we're not the best team here. It's, hold on, you just won the grand final against Australia and New Zealand. You're allowed to brag just this once.
$2 million richer. As you look forward to Season 5, how do you think Spain comes back? How do they respond defending that title?
I think they can go into next season with so much more confidence. You know, they started the season with, you know, a new driver, big changes happening, and they've just gone from strength to strength. So I think they can really start backing themselves as if they can get off the line well, they are a team to contend with.
Stevie, and a lot of people looking at the financial part of this, what teams are coming back. Of course, Brazil's coming into the fray as well. What team do you like next year that carry the momentum? Is it going to be the usual suspects?
Well, I think I like the Spanish if they're here. I mean, they're the ones on the up, and I think their sort of ceiling. I don't think they're near their ceiling. You know, for Australia, for New Zealand, they're further up that curve, and they're already getting caught. I mean, isn't it great that Tom Slingsby's comments? He'll be called out and said it's come back to bite him. I don't think he meant it in a bad way when he said the youngsters haven't stepped up, because most of them haven't.
Yeah.
But that is definitely not the bracket you can put Diego and that Spanish crew in now. I mean, they have jumped very much up to the top. And, you know, I like the Spanish team. I think, you know, the American team's got a lot of work to do. Big pressure. Season 5 is going to be pivotal for them. There's no doubt about that. And, yeah, I mean, Australia and New Zealand, I still think if you're looking at who's the best teams, you look at the season standings, where Australia and New Zealand were the best two teams. But as Emily says, the season, the way the rules work, you've got to do one race.
And I think a few teams did fly under the radar here of having really disappointing results.
Yeah.
We were so focused on those top teams, the battle for the grand final. There were some worrying stories at the bottom of the fleet. I mean, Switzerland finished this event in last. They have Nathan Outeridge driving. I do expect a better performance than that. And obviously it's not all on him. But they've got to be asking those difficult questions of what is going wrong. You know, the US team did beat them in this event.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Stevie, all the rumors that are going around, new teams coming in. We know Brazil is in for sure. Yeah. Possibly another team coming in, and possibly a team not coming back in November.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a bit of a shame we don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of wants to know. Yes, Brazil are coming in. From what we hear, there is not maybe another team coming in. There is a team coming in. We don't know who it is. We don't know what flavour. And so that means someone's got to leave because we haven't got enough boats for them. So again, what does that mean? Does that mean halfway through next season, the team that's been kicked out can come back in?
Right.
But, you know, I mean, ultimately, I've just seen a whole year of really cool sport.
Yeah.
And it's pretty exciting, isn't it? So I wouldn't be at all surprised if once we sort of see this final go out, some of these last few events where we've had a bit of breeze, it's quite an exciting prospect for teams to buy into.
And before we say goodbye for our little summer break or fall break, Emily, we are releasing the Season 5 schedule. And there's some new venues out there that are going to be fantastic to venture to.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool for the teams, especially going to like Brazil. We don't know where in Brazil yet, but, you know, a whole new continent. We're going down to South America. It just opens up that playing field of kind of taking away that home advantage. You know, San Fran is epic, but there is that advantage for the teams that have raced here now for multiple seasons and prior to that. So you kind of get rid of that and just open up.
Other than Spain just won the grand final.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Stevie, as a proud Brit, you've got to be happy to see that calendar come back, and they're coming back to England.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant that we'll have an event in Great Britain. And where it goes, I don't know. I mean, I'm from Devon down near Plymouth, so it would obviously be thought Plymouth was a great venue, but I know Portsmouth up in the Solent, that's probably the more of a historical home of British sailing, so maybe it'll be somewhere around there. Who knows? But it's great that it's coming back over here because there's an awful lot of sailing and sail GP fans in Britain, and I'm sure there'll be a good crowd.
Final thoughts on Season 4?
It's awesome.
Yeah. Final thoughts?
It's just been epic.
Yeah. Epic and awesome as we look towards season number 5. 14 events over that 12 months. As Emily pointed out, new venues, new teams coming in, new sailors. We'll see who comes back. We'll all see it together in November, who lines up on the line. And it'll be an amazing, amazing ride, as was Season 4. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage. We look forward to seeing you in season number 5. For Stevie Morrison and Emily Nagel, I'm Todd Harris. We will see you then.
You know, Emily Nagel's good, too. Mm-hmm. Lisa Darmanin and Emily, they maybe just put the two of them in charge.
Yeah.
And let Jody go along as the color commentator.
Yes.
They'd be way ahead. Todd Harris is okay. He's a pro. He's a journeyman, kind of an NBC journeyman. He hops between networks here doing various events.
Yeah.
But here's the real problem. It's in this country, at least, the commentators for a local sports, for the local commentators for a sports team, the guys that do the television for the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, our local basketball team, and do the commentary for the baseball team, and they go to the games and they do the television or they do the radio.
Yeah.
They are paid for by the teams.
Mm-hmm.
They fly on the team plane. They're part of the team. They're there to promote the team.
And they do.
And they do. And that's the same thing with these guys. They are not neutral commentators. They've got to promote the league. They're being paid to promote the league. They're not independent network commentators who are calling the Super Bowl or calling the Rose Bowl or any other major event who are working for the television network, not for the respective teams. So that's part of what the problem is.
This flashed on too that I really like the energy of Diego Botín.
You know what John Emmett said? Did you see that? He thinks they're going to win the gold medal in the 49er. He really thinks they're coming to the fore.
Good.
And, and his crew, his name escapes me, is also on the SailGP team. So I'm sure they're flown back to Marseille. Yes, and now we're going to show you a couple more slides. There is the season championship. Diego Botín wins, of course, for Spain, the skipper, the driver. Tom Slingsby, Peter Burling, Nikolai Sehested. So Gordon Smith, you and Stingray have been supporting this since the get-go. It's nice to see your Danish team doing so well. Likewise, I agree. It's nice to see the Brits coming up. They've got an event again next year. Sadly, Canada looks like they're on their way out. At least they don't have an event until maybe 2025 if they're still in as a team.
Really?
Yeah. They don't have an event next year. Phil Robertson, the Kiwi, nice guy. I think he needs to just be a little more serious. And in his, maybe he doesn't, maybe he's serious on the water and in the approach to running the team, but in the press conferences and so on, he comes off as a little glib and a little not so serious. He's a hell of a good sailor. He's maybe one of the top sailors out here to do what he's done as helping various teams, including Spain. You got to give him full marks. Sad to see Quentin Delapierre, excuse me, who's going to be in the America's Cup.
He was terrific.
He's terrific, but the boat broke. You can't say too much one way or another about the USA, Germany, and Switzerland, except they were obviously disappointing, and we'll see how it works out next year. The only other thing to say is that you talk about having teams tied to venues. Well, 3 of the venues, the opening venue in Dubai in November, and then the 2 final venues in the Middle Eastern region in the 7th and 8th of November, and then the end of November next year, 2025, are in Abu Dhabi, and who knows if there's going to be one in Saudi Arabia. That second to last one rather suspects that's where that penultimate, as you in the Commonwealth would say, the penultimate event will be in Saudi Arabia. But, follow the money. But no teams, and no teams anytime soon. And if they are, they're going to be not driven by local sailors. They're not going to be driven by local sailors because they don't have sailors that can compete at this level in foiling, high-speed foiling catamarans. Clark Chapin, everyone gets a prize. Big benefit to the SailGP boats, Stingray says, is that modular wing and boards mix. The AC-75s can't come close. Well, we will see. The white star and the red circle is a participation trophy, Clark Chapin. That's what that comment was. And Groover says he's been in from day one as well, joining big fans, Stingray. And true, he has been. And it is I like it. I like what Larry's trying to do. I like what Russell has executed. There's probably no 2 other guys in the world that can pull this off. And I hope it gets even better.
Yes, it's been really highlighted for the first time.
Well, look how much we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
We carry on here like, it's the biggest thing in the sport because it is the biggest thing in the sport because it happens every month. And, you notice we were just saying during this last video, we know our viewers are engrossed, if that's not too strong a word, because the comments stop.
Yes.
During the videos. Okay, so I know you all like it. We like it. Thanks, T and J. Dodgy reception, so off to bed now, traveling to Oslo tomorrow. Have fun, Alistair.
Oh, yes.
You will be missed. Dodgy reception in Europe, wherever he is. Okay, Viva España. Congratulations. Hamish Ross has joined a few minutes ago. And yeah, Hamish, we talked at the top of the show about how Spain had an incredibly good sporting Sunday. And you heard it on that video. Julia, what happened on this day in history, today the 16th of July, at least here in the U.S., in 1945?
VE Day.
Was it 1945? Did I have that date wrong? My graphics department. No, my graphics department may have messed that up. There's your first clue. Yeah, no Copenhagen next year, Gordon Smith. Yep. Oh, you're saying, why is Alistair not coming to see you in Copenhagen? There's your first clue. What happened back in A test? Steve Groover's got it? Yes.
Uh-huh.
That is New Mexico. And here was your second clue, kaboom. I don't have any audio for that, but that is a video of that explosion, first nuclear bomb test. Trinity was the code name of the first detonation. It was 1945. As part of the Manhattan Project, the test was an implosion-designed plutonium bomb nicknamed the Gadget, of the same design as the Fat Man bomb later detonated over Nagasaki, Japan, in just a couple, 3 months, not even a month's time. Less than a month's time. I didn't realize it was that soon after, August 9th. Concerns about whether the complex Fat Man design would work led to a decision to conduct the first nuclear test. The codename Trinity was assigned by J. Robert Oppenheimer, the director of the Los Alamos lab, inspired by the poetry of John Donne. Julia, did you see that movie?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Oppenheimer. Is it worth seeing?
I have it recorded.
Well, I'll get it on Netflix or something.
I was disappointed because I know so many people who were there, and
were there where in 1945?
Yeah,
as part of this
Los Alamos.
Really?
Yeah. And
how old were you then? 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. But these are people you knew later on at Stanford, for example,
or for other reasons. But yes, and have knowledge of going through that.
Well, I don't know if it's a sad day or...
Anyway, I just forgot, because I know so much about what happened and what was happening in Los Alamos and all that, I was disappointed that I didn't learn anything from that.
From Oppenheimer. That was your point about the movie.
Yeah.
Well, if you knew too much, they'd have to kill you.
Well, it leaks out.
Well, there it is. There is this is not where it was actually exploded, but that's a sign nearby. The White Sands Missile Range is what it's called today to commemorate it. And then this is actually at the site. What do you call it, an obelisk?
Yeah.
Is that what you call that?
Sure.
Trinity site, where the world's first nuclear device was exploded on July 16, 1945. And I don't know if you'd say that ushered in the nuclear age, but perhaps it did. Perhaps it did. Stingray saying, can we please get rid of all the nukes? They are truly horrific. Yes, they are, but I don't know how we're ever going to get rid of them. I think the proverbial cat, Julia, is out of the bag. And so far, knock on wood, we
haven't had
a disaster, but a couple of near disasters, and who knows if we're going to have some terrorism as a result of some of this madness. It is madness, Stingray. Julia, the book was better.
Okay.
About Oppenheimer, apparently. Gruber is agreeing with me, saying I'm with you, but good luck with that. Viva España. Enough of all that. That's depressing, like what happened here Saturday was depressing. Let's get to something that is also a bit concerning, maybe not depressing, but a Fozy focus. We talked about this on the show on Friday, the article in the Green Sheet, which is the sports section of the San Francisco Chronicle, and the Bay Area Sailor hopes to save our amazing sport. Hans Henken, who is our 49er skipper, and I talked about it in the show on Friday, and our esteemed super Fozy, Andrew Pindar, not to be confused with our other super Fozy from the UK, Andrew McUrban, but Andrew Pindar and I have been talking. And he said that's really an interesting piece. I sent him a link to it. He read it, Julia, online. And I'm now going to excerpt from it. It's quite a long piece. And as I said, it was on not only in the Chronicle, and they were the Chronicles featuring Bay Area athletes who are going to the Olympics.
And I'm going to add, it's the first time I have ever seen sailing on the first page of the Green
Sheet.
And there were 3 of them.
And above the fold.
And above the fold, yes.
And there was a nice one on our kite surfer.
Yes.
whose name is Daniela Moros.
Yeah.
Daniela Moros. Tough to keep all those Andrews straight, Clark Chapin. No, it's not. This is Pindar. And Pindar sent a video. Andrew sent a video that I'm going to play at the end of this. And he's making a challenge to all of us, which I think is an excellent challenge. Here is a photo, the photo from that article in the San Francisco Chronicle. The headline, Preparing for Paris, Hans Henken hopes Olympic sailing can be saved. Our sport is amazing. And originally I saw it as just that sailing can be saved, but it was Olympic sailing is what they changed the headline ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
And here's it's a little different when it came out in the paper. Bay Area sailor hopes to save amazing sport. And I thought, God, is our sport in trouble? And it wasn't. He meant Olympic sailing, which is what the headline was on the website once this article was posted. Hans Henken considers the St. Francis Yacht Club his home base, but if its members were hoping to give Henken an Olympic send-off, they're more than a year too late. Henken lived in the city's Castro district before moving to Barcelona with his wife, and he already has immersed himself in Marseille, the site of Olympic sailing, trying to learn the tricky wind currents and weather patterns. Quote, I've spent upwards of a year and a half in Marseille understanding the location, Henken said in April at a U.S. Olympic Media Summit. Quote, any edge we can get on our competition. Henken, who sails the two-man 49er with partner Ian Barrows, took a break from studying, this guy's a very bright engineer, the Mistral patterns in the Med to fly to New York for a day. He is eager to promote his sport, which has been part of the modern Olympic Games since their inception in 1896, and he fears for its future. Quote, I feel strongly that sailing is slowly being phased out. We're losing athlete participation. I just don't think enough people understand our sport. Again, I'm taking excerpts from this article that was in the San Francisco Chronicle. He goes on to say, our sport is amazing. It's high-velocity racing, exactly the same thing you see in Formula One. Well, okay. The Drive to Survive, that's the Netflix series about Formula One, the Drive to Survive series could easily be replicated with sailboat racing. Well, of course, SailGP has tried to do just that. I'm not sure how well that's working, but we will see. Henken also loves the intellectual challenge of sailing, which my beloved father, as you know, Julia, often says, to be a good sailor, you've got to be physically fit and
smart,
mentally fit, both. And he's right. Just to get the boat off the dock, you got to be reasonably bright, or you hurt yourself or somebody else. He says he loves the intellectual challenge, which is a problem-solving and decision-making sport, with both a BS and master's degree in aeronautical and astronautical engineering from that school down in Palo Alto, Julia. What's that school called? Huh?
Yes.
What's it called?
Stanford.
You were vice president of your class, weren't you?
Student body.
Student body. Oh, the student body.
Oh, yes.
Sorry. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Carry on. He applies his engineering mind to the sport. He believes sailing has a higher proportion of engineers, including his wife, Helena Scott, who also sailed at Stanford and now works as a mechatronics engineer for the America's Cup team, American Magic, based in Barcelona. Henken said his sport requires a brand new, this was not good ink for the sport, requires a brand new boat every 3 events, which usually means 2 boats a year, meaning major events. New sails are needed at every event. He estimates the annual budget, this is for a 49er, a bloody 49er, is upwards to $300,000, the annual budget, before coaching costs, which push it to $500,000 a year. What do you think?
I think it's awful.
It is awful. John Sangmeister and others of you on here are saying our sport is too expensive, and they're right.
What it yells out to me is that we ought to be looking at the construction of our equipment, because if we have to do sales, every major event, there's got to be a better sail.
I did not ask Julia to say that. That was not rehearsed. If we had a star or a fin, we'd be better off. You get the applause for the day. Let's carry on here. Our sport is really expensive and very few people watch. So it's easy to do the math, Henkin said. You either have to drop the price on the barrier of entry, the barrier to entry, so that more people are participating, or increase the viewership of the sport so there's the right media outcome. Watching, the article says, watching can be difficult as well. Though sailing can be glorious on television, it is hard to see from the shore. Well, not when it's in a natural, iconically beautiful, and reliably windy venue, Julia, like San Francisco Bay in July and August. Olympic sailing usually happens far away from the rest of competition, though Rio was an exception, and LA 2028 with the venue in Long Beach will be another. And of course, this time we're in Marseille. The weather is unpredictable and can cause sailors to wait all day to race. In those initial modern Olympics in 1896, the weather was uncooperative and the sailing races didn't happen. So the first Olympic sailing, or yachting as it was called then, took place in 1900. Those games also were held in Paris. Sailing was held in Le Havre in the North Atlantic, both in 1900 and again in 1924. Which, by the way, was the 100 years ago, the last time the Olympics were in France. Sailing has been a part of the Olympics since its inception. Now it feels as though it is in a drive to survive. Henkin wants to make sure it does. And that's the challenge we're getting from Andrew Pindar in a video I'll show you in a moment, because he checked in, sent this video along, and he thinks we need to be discussing this very topic among the FOSI, among all of you who are so smart, so connected, so tuned in over the ensuing weeks and months. And we need to help people like Alistair Murray and others who are at the top of the sport lead us to maintaining, keeping sailing in the Olympics. If you agree, some people think it ought to go. I personally think, Julia, your point is the first one, is that we have to have more robust equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, as John Emmett and others will remind us, Sir Ben Ainslie used his Olympic fin in several Olympics and won gold medals with the same bloody boat. Right? Okay, let's look at Andrew Pindar's video that he sent in.
Hey, I'm checking in with the FOSI here, Tom, just to see whether anybody else has got tickets yet for Marseille. Mine came in this morning. They dropped very nicely into my inbox, so I've got them all ready to go. So I'm going to be down there at the end of the month, the beginning of August, to see some sailing down in Marseille. And then I was also reading an article which I think you posted about Hans Henkin, challenging about whether there's going to be future to sailing in the Olympics, and won't it be a great discussion for us to have over the next month as we look to see how well this Olympic cycle goes, how well people do, whether people engage, whether people truly have lost the interest in sailing for the Olympics, whether we end up having to go skateboarding instead, or are we on the cusp of something really good with the balanced agenda that we now have in the Olympics? Are we seeing the future of sailing is in our hands? Why don't we discuss it in the coming weeks as the FOSI come together to debate another important topic to us all?
Andrew Pindar, thank you for that, sir.
Indeed.
A very good question, a very good point, Julia. You get the first comment. Not that we're going to go into great detail today.
I'll take Stingray's comment, which is odd job senior.
Meaning my dad.
Yeah, nailed it. Kids are into their phones now.
Yeah, but that doesn't solve the problem. We're worried about our sport getting kicked out of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I think the point that was made by Hamish Ross is part of the issue, the constant change in classes and equipment creating a disconnect with the past.
Yes.
We talk about Wimbledon. There's always a method to my madness of putting that Wimbledon focus at the top of the show. And the history and tradition, the white tennis garb, the shirts and the shorts went out, it seems, with the 40s or the 50s.
The 20s.
Maybe the 20s, but still they maintain it. It's the top of the tennis world. Everybody watches it. Everybody who's a tennis player wants to get there. Everybody wants to win it. And they haven't changed. Okay, the rackets have changed a little bit. They've gone from wood to aluminum to carbon.
Yeah.
The balls haven't changed. The size of the court hasn't changed. They have a lot better officiating system with that electronic eye.
Yeah.
So they can say, but they still have to make challenges to review it. It's not like every decision is made by the bloody machine. They could have. They still have the people there with their hand, oh, it's in, it's out. And, there's the drama of that.
Yeah.
Good comment by Steve Groover. Blake Middleton says, we used to have a 470 class at Minnetonka Yacht Club in the 70s. Only the laser counts as a regularly raced class in clubs these days, at least here in the U.S., which was what Groover's comment was above. So, yeah, I think we've got, I for one, think we've got to keep sailing in the Olympics for a whole lot of reasons.
Oh, yeah, yes.
It helps a lot. First of all, women's sailing, because without women's Olympic sailing, a lot of women would not have the opportunity at the local and national level to sail. There just would not be as many events. Secondly, there are a lot of smaller countries, especially smaller countries. I mean, in the U.S., if the Olympics went out of sailing went out of the Olympics, the sport would just go fine. In fact, arguably, it might even grow.
Mm.
And when I was executive director of U.S. Sailing back in the late 70s, early 80s, we had a massive, examination of your belly button.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I?
No.
Huh? Shall I graphically?
No.
My belly button's nice. You've never seen it.
How do you know?
Oh, maybe you have. Maybe you snuck down here to the apartment and had a look at night when I'm sound asleep.
God help us all.
God help us all. Yeah, money is all that counts. It is, the tail is wagging the Olympic and sailing dog. I think we've got to get back to racing that is interesting for sailors and not for television. I think we have prostituted the sport to television. All this up close to the shore. I think the medal races, we've had that discussion here. We need to go to boats that are less expensive over the longer haul, that are more robust and can last a quadrennium and maybe more. And Clark Chapin's got opinions. You've all got opinions, but I do think it is, we have to keep our sport in the Olympics for the sake of small boat racing, and then figure out how to do it well in a way that's not so expensive. But any other comments before we leave this? Standards, Alex Kent. Hi, Alex Kent. Mm-hmm. Standards, yep. We'll get to that, and hopefully Andrew Pindar, maybe we'll have a FOSI Zoom situation here, Julie, where we put the FOSI up on the screen, asking people to come in, and we'll have a debate after the Olympics, after the
with the idea of
GovCon.
how to improve it.
Yeah, and some of our comments may get through to World Sailing and to the delegates of World Sailing, and maybe they won't, but they sure aren't going to get through if we don't do it.
Yep.
So thank you, Andrew Pindar. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And we will do that. Before we leave the Olympics, since it's only here, it's here in only 10 days, I thought it was interesting to note, this is from a couple months ago, that I didn't realize that it came to Marseille. Maybe we talked about this once before, but the Olympic torch came from Greece to Marseille before it got moved around the country, and ultimately just a couple days ago to Paris, to Paris. And I found a video about the huge crowds that were there a couple months ago when the torch was in Marseille, and it gives you a feel a little bit for our Olympic venue, the sailing venue in Marseille.
100 years after the last Olympic Games were held in France, the torch has touched down on French soil, not in the French capital, Paris, but here in the southern city of Marseille, after a 12-day voyage from Greece across the Mediterranean Sea on the Belém. A day of festivities here in Marseille and a day of firsts. It's the first time that the Olympics torch has been welcomed to a host nation, has arrived to a host nation by sea. It's also the first time that a city other than the official host city, that's of course being Paris, has had the honor of being being the first to welcome the flame, and it's been marked by a day of pomp and festivities in the southern city of Marseille, starting with a magnificent maritime parade with the Belém escorted by 1,024 boats along the Marseillais coastline. Then the Belém made its magnificent and grand entrance here in the old port, and that's where the spectacle really began. We saw fireworks, we heard the Marseillaise, we heard the Paris 2024 official anthem for the first time, and the French National Air Force drew the iconic Olympic rings into the sky here in Marseille. And then, of course, the event, the moment everyone had been waiting for, the touchdown of the torch. Florent Manodou had the honor of being the first torchbearer in France. He made his way down a floating running track in the water here in Marseille. He wasn't alone. He was joined by Nonatan Keita, a Paralympian and four-time medalist, before the French rapper from Marseille, Jules, had the honor of taking the torch and being the first to light the cauldron here in Marseille. All of this, of course, marks just the beginning of a very long journey for the Olympic torch across France and its overseas territories, finishing, of course, with that highly anticipated opening ceremony in the French capital, Paris, on the 26th of July.
So you can see from that video, I mean, those of you who've been to Marseille, especially during a sailing event, as some of us on here have been, for the International America's Cup class pre-regatta, I think it was the very first one that we had in the lead up to 2007. So this would have been in 2005, I guess. And it was in the old port, the old harbor, and the locals turned out big time.
Did they?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good event. You know, the city's a bit scary because there's a lot of crime and there's a lot of, you got to keep your bag close to you. You got to keep your computer bag close to you. Act One, Hamish Ross is reminding me, and he was there, and the boats were all lined up, and it was a nice event. Pretty good breeze, a little foggy one day, I think, from memory, but I hope, as Andrew Pindar is saying, if you got your tickets, if you can go, I'd love to go. I can't, obviously, because I'm going to be down in Newport Beach for this other cool event, the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship, known as the Governor's Cup. So I think this will be a good event. And as Vice Commodore, I see Vice Commodore Harrington has weighed in here. And she said, where's her comment?
Top of the hill. So much.
Is it top?
Mm-hmm.
So much I'd like to say.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say it here on a bumper sticker in a comment. There is likely a path to saving Olympic sailing. I completely agree. I think sailing is one of those sports that will be protected because of the history and tradition, because there is so much, dare I say it, so much royalty, Julia, that sails. And that's one of the reasons why I emphasize that on this show, as I did earlier today with King Felipe of Spain, a sailor. And he sailed the 92 games. He was on their soling team that did the match. There again, if you're going to have a king sail in the Olympics, it's got to be on a boat like the Soling. We don't have any keel boats in the Olympics. And half the sport is in keel boats, maybe more. Andrew McIrvin makes this point. Others make the point, why don't we have an Olympic class that's a keel boat, where we used to? And they used to all be keel boats. And that was definitely too much. In any event, we will discuss and debate this in future. Where did I get the accent on the last syllable? In the future.
Yes.
Right? En la futura en español. Right, Julia?
Right.
I thought that was a nice video. We'll close by reminding you that the opening ceremony is a week from this coming Friday. It's the 26th of July, next Friday, in Paris. And whether or not it happens, I guess it's for sure going to happen on the River Seine, and the currents may be a bit greater than expected, but they'll manage it. They always do. And it should be magnificent outdoor opening ceremony. I hope there's no security issues with the change in the government there and some of the other problems. It's got people on pins and needles, no doubt, including a couple of our FOSI who are involved, and I talk to them regularly here. Maybe we could have kings race each other. We don't have any young kings. Graham Sweeney says, well, true, but still. Tom Ogletree checking in from Savannah, Georgia, a great but hot this time of year sailing place, and where we, of course, had the Olympics in 1996, the Sailing Olympics. Speaking of Olympics that are a bit distant from the main Olympics, which, of course, will be in Paris starting next Friday night. Just going to the Sailing Olympics for a moment. This is the esteemed Olympic gold medalist from 2020, Maddie Weirn from Australia. And John Emmett also thinks, I won't put words in his mouth, but he thinks highly of Matt, thinks he has a good chance of repeating. And I think he is correct. Here is the schedule. The games starting actually on the 26th for the opening ceremony. There's two, the 24th and 25th, there's some preliminary, but in other sports. Our sport starts on the 28th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 28th. The opening ceremony again on the 26th. And those first 4 days in black dots, and then the medal races on the 1st and the 2nd for the first part of the 10 classes. And some of the latter classes actually start on the medal races on the 1st and 2nd while the medal races are going on. So that first chunk is wrapping up on the 1st and 2nd is the windsurfing, men's, windsurfing, women's, the skiff, meaning the 49er men's and women's, and the men's dinghy starts on that weekend of the 1st and 2nd. So the laser is the men's dinghy. Their opening series is that weekend, the 1st and the 2nd. So the first tranche, if you will, is really the windsurfing men's and women's and the 49er men's and women's. And then that weekend of the 1st and 2nd looks very interesting indeed. We'll be watching that. Then that second 3-day period, including starting on the medal race days, the 1st and 2nd, that's when the rest of the classes start, including the men's dinghy and women's dinghy, which their continue. Their medal races are on the 6th and 7th. They got a lot of races. That's the laser class. The mixed dinghy, which is the 470, their opening series continues then. And the men's kite and women's kite, and I guess, and the multi-hull. And the multi-hull there's in the list. And finally, the very last event is the kites. No surprise. Why am I not surprised, Julia, that the kites are wrapping this up?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that's going to be the be-all and end-all for Olympic sailing that used to be called Olympic yacht racing. And those races are so short and so frankly weird compared to what we do in the rest of the sport. We'll see if...
I'd like to have that graphic.
That graphic? Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, I will post that on my Facebook page. Okay. Because I spent way too much time this morning looking for a graphic that told the sailing story.
Yep.
And you can tell by the crudeness of this graphic that it was done by my graphics department.
Yes, but it was done.
It was done. That's me doing that this morning, trying to show when sailing is and when the various classes are, and it's hard. It was hard to do because I couldn't find it anywhere. Actually, the best website, if I may say, is NBC Sports. Not World Sailings, not the IOCs, but NBC Sports has a terrific website, in my never so humble opinion. Jousting, they're back and forth to what they'd have the kings do, gladiator style jousting. On sailboats or on horses? I don't know. So that's that. I also want to, we still got some time here. I want to feature another of our FOSI, Olivia Price and Evie Hazeldine, who are representing Australia in the women's skiff, the 49er FX. And there's been a terrific piece about them that dropped on the 9 News Network a few days ago in Australia. One of the best sailing pieces, kind of up close and personal, Julia, like we used to think ABC did in this country when they were covering the Olympics before NBC took over. And I commend this video to you.
I stepped away from competitive sailing, actually sailing completely, for about 5 years after not getting selected for the Rio Olympics. You know, the thing that kind of brought me back was actually Evie. Evie asked me to mentor her. I said, let's go sailing and we'll figure out, you know, how I can help you. And that sailing session went for about an hour and it was magic. We both walked away from the water that day and kind of knew but didn't say to each other that that actually worked really well, and it's very rare that you come across someone that you work so well with, especially on the first sail. She was talking about how dedicated she was, her natural feel, and where she wanted to take her sailing career really sparked an interest in me to potentially get back into it. I approached Olivia knowing her as a silver medalist and as the inspiration that I had as a child, looking up to someone who really made history for Australia in the Olympic Games.
There will be a big cheer around the world for the 20-year-old Olivia Price. There will be few better deserved silver medals in the Olympic competition.
Winning a silver medal at the London Olympics is by far, my most proudest moment, but it did take a while to, I guess, process not winning gold. I still, vividly remember everything that went on during that day in the third race. It's probably one of the most haunting moments that I will continue to remember, where I got sucked out of the boat in the match.
Oh, someone's off the boat on the Australians.
Olivia fell out the back of the boat there.
Now, as a 19, just turned 20-year-old at the Games, that was a very emotional roller coaster experience, and I know that it did take me a bit of time to actually figure that out. Doing that with her crew of 3 was definitely something to look up to. It was inspiring. I actually vividly remember her coming down to Drummoyne Sailing Club with her silver medal and showing all the juniors, and so I wanted to, from then on, I went home that night and I said to my dad, I want to go to the Games and like Olivia, I want to win a silver medal. Or win a medal. Maybe not silver, but... Yeah, let's go one better this time. Yeah.
A moment that clearly means so much to these sailors.
What a World Championships they've had.
We won the bronze at the Worlds only 18 months after we stepped in the boat with one another. We had a process and we're sticking to the process, and we were going to work towards it for the Games. And for it to be pulled off, a year out from the Games, it was almost as if, okay, what we're doing is working. To be able to stand on the podium, that certainly wasn't the goal. It was supposed to be, a work in progress. To be honest, this journey has been incredible. Stepping away from sailing, I honestly didn't think I was going to come back. The drive and the passion and the enthusiasm that Evie has is what really drew me back to high performance sailing. And, it's an incredible opportunity that I'm going to my second Games. Olivia has been instrumental and honestly has an amazing talent to teach what she knows, not just in skill and technique on the boat, but also in how to manage emotions and how to regulate different pressures in and around sailing. The goal is definitely still to win gold. We may be seen as an underdog or an outsider. There's nothing bad about that either. I've got all the faith in the world in the two of us to be able to go and do what we need to do.
It's like you're struggling there.
To be able to walk away from this Olympics and still have my little sister Evie smiling at me every day would be, something that we would have been through, hell and back together. Coming away from Marseille, I know that the last 2.5 years have been worth everything, no matter the result. We definitely have a really good understanding of each other, and that's what we're going to use as our strength in Marseille, to work through all of the highs and the lows that come with the Games and, try and leave it all out there.
Bravo, Zulu.
Yes.
To the Price family, and especially to Olivia and Evie, but this just fantastic stuff. The Nine Network, thank you for doing that.
Yes.
And to the Fozy who sent that to me, again, bravo Zulu. That's why that video, better than anything, shows why you have to keep sailing in the Olympics, because not only does it help women in the Olympics, it helps our sport. Those kids showing up with Olympic medals, and the kids seeing the sailors, and they were kids at the time. They were only 20, 21, however old they were. Nice girls, they look strong, yes. And what an inspirational story. Bravo Zulu to, as I said, the family Price, and especially to our Fozy. They're all Fozy. They've all been on the show any number of times, and they follow it regularly, both her mom and dad, and we appreciate very much. Cool stuff. Bravo Zulu. As several of you said, that was lovely. Jonathan Shore agrees. They're back and forth still on this royalty thing. They're going to put the Kardashians in their jousting match because we don't have any royalty in this country. we've got royalty in this country, and she's sitting right over there.
No.
We'll put her in one of those things.
No.
And she can be she's yacht club royalty anyway. Commodores, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. That gets us to the America's Cup. I'm only going to show you one America's Cup slide here. We're really into the D block, or just about to be. And that is a cool graphic that has shown up courtesy of CupLegends.com. I will post it on my Facebook page so you can study it up close and personal. But it's interesting. I think it's accurate. It looks pretty accurate to my eye. We'll see what Stingray and a few others of you think. That will examine it more closely than I. But that, and There Is No Second, Magnus the Magnificent, Magnus Wheatley's terrific book that Julia is going to give us a book report on at some point. We get through Gov Cup and everything else. Good stuff, a lot of cool stuff happening in our sport here in the next 3 weeks and the next 3 months, including the America's Cup. And what's going on right now here as we get to the last leg? Well, we got two things going on. It started today in Newport, Rhode Island at the fabulous Harbor Court. And Vice Commodore Harrington is on, and what a job that club is doing this week with New York Yacht Club's Race Week. And the featured series, at least for some of us in the international yacht racing world, are the TP52s. They're having their world championship. This terrific photo by Danielle Forster.
Yay.
We feature on here a lot. The Swiss clockmaker, we call him. And originally from Switzerland, now living in Jamestown. Last I knew he was in Jamestown, Rhode Island, just across from Newport on Connecticut Island. And this, one of his photos as they were practicing in the last couple days. And the racing started today. I heard from Dirk de Ritter, who's there sailing. And it's underway at New York Yacht Club Race Week this week. Couple comments, one from Claire. Vice Commodore Harrington said, "They're back!"
Yay.
And why is she excited? Well, because it's the top, it's the pinnacle of monohull match racing, monohull racing, fleet racing or otherwise. Of course, it is fleet racing. They count all the races. They've got Pro-Am. They've got lots of pros. It's a terrific event. Jeff Ogle agrees. He said, real sailboats are cool. And I asked Jeff, Claire, if I could use their comments today, and they put them on my Facebook page, and of course they did. I'm going to play this video just because I like the vision. I like the video. The music, we all agreed last Friday, was Crutonic. It was Marble House. It was Harbor Court. It's a little fast cutting for New York Yacht Club and the Rolex, and the music, as we all agreed last Friday, is a bit Crutonic. But these are fabulous boats. It's a fabulous series happening in Newport, Rhode Island. This week, the TP52 World Championships. There are a lot of great sailors in those images and those videos on all the boats. I listened to their commentary of their first day of racing today. Briefly, I dipped in a couple times, and the commentary is good. The racing was superb. I commend it to you as well, and you can see it on their YouTube channel, the Rolex TP52 World Championships in Newport, Rhode Island. Also coming up next week, starting on Sunday, we're going to do a little action down there, media action mostly, but the big action starts Monday night, is the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship known as the Governor's Cup, the 57th edition at Balboa Yacht Club down in the other Newport, in Newport Beach, California. And we've got Morgan Pinkney and Jeffrey Peterson and a bunch of other star kids. I mean, really top-notch sailors, all under age 23. 3 from Australia, a Brazilian, Irish, 2 from Kiwiville, and fully 5 from the USA. And the group from last year, fully 8 of 12 from last year are returning. They have not aged out. That's how good this fleet is. 6 of the 12 will age out this year. They'll turn 23 and not be able to race next year. And we'll be covering that live starting Monday night. We're doing our usual 10 shows in 6 days. And I'll show you that schedule in a moment. Meanwhile, Can he win a third? He's won it twice. Jeffrey Peterson, another Fozy. He and his team, thanks to Peter Taylor, we know that they won a qualifier, a match racing qualifier at Oak Cliff here in the last few days. And he seems to be well tuned up to maybe three-peat for the Governor's Cup coming up here next week. Thanks again, Peter Taylor, for that photo of Jeffrey and co. And it's no one's ever won it 3 times. A handful of teams have won, including Andy Rose, have won it twice, but no one's ever won it 3 times. Part of that reason is that the age used to be 21, I think, and now because they're following World Sailing's youth standards, it's now 23. You cannot have turned 23 before the regatta starts. You can't have turned 23 before it ends. I think you're right, Julia. There's our television schedule. We'll be live next Monday night for the Meet the Teams, the roast that Andy Rose conducts. I'll do our regular Sailing Illustrated show Tuesday at 1 o'clock there remotely from Balboa Yacht Club. And then we have a morning show live every morning, Wednesday through Saturday. We have live racing Friday and Saturday afternoon. And we'll cover the press conferences and the prize giving Friday and Saturday evenings at 7 and 5, respectively, at the beautiful Balboa Yacht Club, the 57th edition of the Governor's Cup. Julia, we got a few funnies today. I think I was still putting them together when you came down.
Yep.
Wasn't I?
Yep.
You want to do these?
No.
Okay. The first one is a caption contest. That's a photo from one of our Fozy. The caption contest, headless or clueless or whatever. That's from Christopher and Jane Gillingham in the Solent. I think he took that picture. If he didn't, he found it and sent it to us. I think clueless is the right, putting the kite up sideways. Next one is from Peter Taylor. A prescription whiskey, Julia. Drink 1 measure daily. If issues persist, double dosage until symptoms subside.
I'm ready.
Huh?
I'm ready.
Well, we had a little potion in your coffee the other day.
Yes, it was
in the
good.
show Friday.
It was good.
Did that help?
Of course it did.
Well, we teetotalers, we wouldn't know that. Thanks, Peter Taylor, for that. I never know which restroom to use in Scotland. Sign of the times, and then some. Graham Sweeney, of course, who is living in Scotland. He's a Brit living in Scotland.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Graham. And then the father of Olivia Price sent this in. David Price sent this saying, having a dog named Shark at the beach was a mistake. Shark! Shark!
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Take your dog to the beach. Shark! Just don't take a dog named Fire into a theater, right? You'd get put in jail, probably, at least in some cities. Finally, problem solved. I don't know what problem is being solved here, but this from Jay Frederick, a.k.a. Boomer Bland, sent this. So I guess if the spousals are having a discussion, somebody should go sail. It looks like the woman is sailing the boat. It looks like long hair to me, but I can't tell if that's a double-handed boat, a single-handed boat, or how the problem has actually been solved. It's been solved one way or another.
You can make your own solution.
And Julia, we could solve a big problem in this country if the non-sailing, see, how was that for a segue? Huh?
Yeah.
If the non-sailing CEO went, and I hear he's going, and I can't wait. The sooner the better. I guess we're going to get the Olympics behind us, put the past behind us, and then he is going to go. One can only hope. That'll help the sport in this
Rick
country.
Bannerow says he was damn near parched, and me too.
Bannerow is parched, meaning he needs a drink. Oh,
Yes.
ding, ding, ding. Yeah, we finally said the non-CEOs, non-sailing CEOs got to go. Everybody can drink. In Scotland, you can't tell if it's a man or a woman sailing the boat. Clark Chapin is saying. Graham, who actually sent us that, he said, no, that's just the guy that's been at sea long enough to grow his hair.
Oh.
Oh, okay, that explains it.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Graham.
Code flag in. Gotta go. Julia, we're to the finish line. Thank God. We're an hour and 2 hours and 15 minutes into this one. And you like to say,
yes, it is wonderful to like, follow, and share. Do it. And look at who you're sharing it to and how many you can. And it's especially young sailors. It would be a good time.
Okay, Julia. Okay. God dang, like, follow, and share. The only one who beat you at that was Clark Chapin. He went on longer than you do when he was doing it when I was in Michigan.
I think about it because the formats on different computers are different. So some of them don't say like, follow, and share.
Well, it's one's YouTube and one's Facebook. And I can't remember which is which, but the idea is the same, including comments are welcome even in replay. Even in replay, Graham Sweeney thinks we should be using the black flag instead of code flag N, the cancellation, what used to be the cancellation flag. One group we're not going to cancel. In fact, if they cancel us, we're done because this is viewer-supported media. Thanks to our FOSI who support us, have already become patrons via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Like, following, and share. Joe Holtzman's doing it. Tier DeYoung, thank you for your comment. Clark Chapin usually beats everybody to that. And, of course, we always want to thank, Julia, those who gave us media.
Indeed.
Images, video, and audio for today's show. Quite a long list, as usual, but even longer than normal. And it's as you know, because I'm usually doing that slide when you come down here an hour before the show, and I hate doing that slide. If there was one thing somebody could do for me, they'd take the show and produce. Maybe AI can do that.
Oh, maybe
ultimately. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But thanks to all of you who gave us some media for today's show. Let us use your media. And with that, Julia, last thoughts? Any final thoughts?
It's summer's halfway over and it hasn't begun yet.
Well, it's San Francisco. It's cold here. It's 62 during the day and 50 at night, 55 at night. Thanks, everybody. We hope you have a great rest of your week wherever in the world you are. We'll see you on Friday, same time, same channel, for our last show before the Governor's Cup. And we'll do quite a feature on Governor's Cup on Friday. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.